Hello, and a great big warm welcome to episode 4, season 2 of the Ask Zofie podcast. I am really excited to share on what I'm going to share on today. Last week's episode was on mindset hacks. Absolutely adore talking about all things mindset. This week, I'm answering 2 manifesting questions. They're kind of related, I think, from the same person on the same topic. If you know me, you'll know that I totally get fired up and lit up talking about manifesting because, like I've said 6 gazillion times, I am here to help, to serve, to guide you. And I know that sorting your mindset, teaching you about manifestation is the best way that I can possibly do this. So I'm going to get to those questions in a moment. Before I do that, I am, as is customary for me, going to share something from Love Notes. I've got my old copy. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see I've got my Love Notes from God. But as I said last week, and you'll probably know, it's now called Love Notes. But I'm going to pick us a page and a quote before I get into answering the questions. Okay, just give me a minute. I want to read both pages. The first page is, "You can reach a place where all you desire to utter is thank you. Thank you, thank you. My love, you will find me here. Come home to me now." And then the next one is, "The peace of my love is your ultimate home. It offers the ultimate protection." Yeah, there are so many I can't think of the words. My brain's gone today. Yeah, it's not there. These kind of what seem odds aspects of life and the universe. And we have this idea that if we just say thank you and we're appreciative of for what we've got, then life will go like, oh, he's fine or she's fine, and it won't give us any more. And this is completely at odds with the truth. And you can reach a place where you just want to say thank you, not all day, every day for the rest of your life, because frankly, if you're in that state, you want to be alive, because in our physical bodies, in this physical realm, we're more dense, not stupid, but our energy isn't as pure as when we're just souls. But you can be in a place where you just want to give thanks, and when you just want to give thanks, you're so connected and you're so allowing of more. I'll think of that word in a minute, but it's not come to me yet. It's just one of those crazy ideas of the universe that the mind can't quite get to grips with. All right. Oh yeah, so behind the scenes, I'm recording this what will be when you're listening last week, which I've said a couple of times just confuses me even more. But this was the highlight of my weekend. I did have a really lovely weekend, but I posted on Instagram actually a photograph, or a couple of photographs of my hedge, and it's a pretty substantially sized hedge. And to be fair, Daniel did offer to help me or to cut it for me, but I was like, look, I like a challenge and I want to kind of get in there and get on with it. So I borrowed the tools from my neighbour, and he also said, oh, I think this would be too heavy for you, Zofie. And I was like, I'm quite strong actually, Ian. And as soon as he said that, I was like, no one's telling me that it's too heavy for me. I'm going to do this because I am determined. So I spent a good deal of my day yesterday. Basically, the way I described it to Daniel was, imagine if there was a Mrs. Bean, and Mrs. Bean was cutting her large hedge with a big, heavy tool. That was me. And because I am so determined, not hashtag slash stupid, you might say, I'm going to do my thing while I check I'm recording. I am. At one point, I was on an incline, because my garden is on an incline, and I was on these not exactly completely safe step ladders that are a bit wonky, and I was on the top bit of them, this really heavy piece of equipment, and I was like, oh shoot, how am I going to actually get down? Like I've got nothing to kind of hold on to. And then I was a little bit like, hang on, I think that's enough now, Zofie. So that was the fun of my weekend. I just reminded myself as I was sharing that I had my old house painted once by this Polish guy, and he had this really, really, really long ... ladder. And I said to him, is that safe? And he was like, not completely. And then I had to kind of just go in and kind of pretend that he wasn't stood at the top of this, what he'd just described as not completely safe ladder. But all's well that ends well. I sorted the hedge out, apart from a few little bits that I can't quite get to yet, but we'll just see what happens with that. And the house was painted, and no Polish men or partly Polish women were killed in order to share these stories. So it's all good. Right, before I get into answering my manifesting questions, Manifesting Miracles round 7. Can't believe actually this is the 7th time I'm going to teach this beloved freaking content. It's virtual. I've done a couple in person, but mostly they're virtual for pretty obvious reasons, I guess. Is starting, I'm just checking the dates on my notes here, 18th, Tuesday the 18th of October, runs for 4 weeks. It's at 7:30 every Tuesday. It's £100. This is like the easiest, the best, the most powerful way for me to share my knowledge with you. There's quite a few people now who've done it more than once. Somebody's done it 3 times, mostly probably because of the energy. Like, I know, I can say this all the time, there's plenty of things I cannot do, I'm rubbish at, but I know that my energy is golden because I've worked my behind off to get it there. And I have this capacity to be like a kind of lucky charm for people. And this, in Manifesting Miracles, is the best way for me to show up and share that energy, and for you to start to see that it is possible and you are meant to manifest miracles. So if you're interested, then I will share the link to that to sign up in the show notes, or drop me a DM or a message if you've got any questions. It's £100, and I always go above and beyond in terms of the care and the time and the attention I give to my students, because I can't help myself. That's giving me flashbacks to Daniel went to IKEA on Saturday and bought, and I've just seen it's called an XXL bag of Dime bars. And to be fair, I didn't eat every single one because I did have some, I was assisted, but the ones that were left in my care are now gone. So I apparently couldn't help myself with those either. Anyway, let's move swiftly on, shall we? And finally, I will get to the frickin' point. So got 2 questions on manifesting. The first one is not verbatim, but basically what one of my lovely followers was asking was, does it work, i.e. does manifesting work if what you're asking for is not in your highest good? So you might think it's what you really want, but it's not what you really want from your soul perspective. And okay, I can speak from experience on this one without going into all of the gory details. I think I've talked about this a little bit before, and I've definitely spoken about it at the start of the book that I'm writing, Living in Faith, not Living in Fear as I called it once. Anyway, is that long story short, I believed that this guy was like my soulmate. Actually, more than that, there's something some of you will know, will have heard of, this idea that we have twin flames, and that essentially you and this other person are the same person, or the same soul, but in different bodies. And I believe that this person was that for me. And because I believed that he was that for me, that he was kind of the man that God had destined me for, I really, really wanted to manifest him into my life, because it felt like that was what was meant to be, and that's what I quote unquote should be doing. And so, knowing what I know about manifesting, which is like, let's just say a freaking lot, and really wanting to do what's right by God, I believe, like, with this burning sort of desire that this was meant to be, and so on and so forth. Anyway, so I worked my backside off to try and manifest this person into my life. And without, like I say, going into all the details, I did sort of kind of manifest him into my life, but it took a lot of effort, and it wasn't pretty, and it wasn't stable, and he was on and off, and he was in and out of my life experience. And there's so much more to this story that I could talk about that is not particularly pertinent to the answer here. So I won't go into it. But the point is that if you think about it like this, we live in this physical world. We obviously have these physical bodies and all this material physical stuff around us, but there's also the non-physical aspect of us and of life. And the way that I like to think of it is like the physical is the tip of the iceberg, and the non-physical is the rest, the mainstay, the body of the iceberg. And so the tip of the iceberg is very, very small in comparison with what lies beneath the surface. So the physical, therefore, is very small in comparison with what is non-physical. So we get confused because we see people efforting and trying really hard and achieving on the back of that efforting and that trying really hard. And we think, well, he did or she did X, Y, Z. So that effort must have led to that result. But what we don't realize is that it's really the energetic component, the non-physical, which is where the kind of juice or the energy comes from. So you can get somewhere with just the physical, with effort, with trying, like I did in that experience. But if you're working against what your soul knows is for your highest good, then it's like you are swimming upstream. You're trying to kind of keep yourself afloat in a riptide or whatever. So it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be satisfying. You're not going to have these results that give you a sense of peace. I'm just checking my notes to see. Okay, yeah. So what I would suggest you do is to use these mantras: the universe knows best, and this or something better. So you don't want to be going against what your soul knows is best for you, because your soul isn't some external entity that's just decided, oh, I think you should have X, Y, or Z, like a parent that thinks it knows best in a non-loving, fear-based way. It's you. It's connected to you. It's the bigger part of you. Like your soul has been with you through not only this lifetime, but countless, every lifetime you've ever lived. And my belief is that we are infinite beings, which obviously you might not subscribe to, but that's a separate issue. But it is basing what's best for you on what you've said you desire. Okay, so the universe knows best, and this or something better. And the other thing that's really helpful is to stay general. So instead of thinking I want to manifest this specific person or this specific job or this specific house or this specific anything, focus, like I've talked about before, on the essence of that thing. So why do you want that person? Why do you want that job? Why do you want that house, or whatever it might be? And keep it general. And this allows you to stay out of your own way, to not have any kind of wobble in your vibration, which is I want it, but or I like that, but how's it going to happen? All of those things will throw you off. If you keep feeling the feels of what you desire, like I've said before, and then you don't mess it up, what you desire or something even better, okay? It's not second best. It's not a plan B. It's something even better, must in divine timing be yours. So figure out the essence of this thing that you want, that you think might not be in your highest good, and then surrender over, okay? And remember that you're only surrendering over to yourself. It's like you're surrendering over to air traffic control that can see what's going on in the skies, whereas you can't. You don't have that same vision. Okay, hopefully that helps. And the second question is, how does the universe deliver our stuff if others get hurt, or others would get hurt through us receiving our stuff? And again, yeah, my mind is freaking complicated, and I have been through some stuff, and a lot of what I teach is not only on the back of having worked with clients and spoken to so many of my members and my followers, but just my own personal experience. And the thing I want to say first is that the mind loves to complicate. So it will say, for example, well, if I'm in alignment, but my partner's not in alignment, how are things going to work out? And it takes you down, or wants to take you down, into all these rabbit holes that ultimately just thwart your success. So keep things simple, okay? Understand that essentially what law of attraction states and how manifestation works is like attracts like. So in essence, when you feel good on the inside, things are going to go good on the outside, okay? So you don't need to get all caught up in the different kind of whys and all the sort of complicated bits of, well, if I do this, how's that going to work? And if I want this person, but they're with that person, how's that going to work? The universe will always find a way. Nothing and nobody can stand between you and your stuff when you are consistently in alignment. Okay, I'm going to repeat that because it's really helpful. Nothing and nobody can stand in your way, that can come between you and your stuff when you are consistently in alignment. The mind won't get this. That's fine. How can the mind even begin to comprehend this universe and this world that we live in and this life? It can't. When you're stuck in the mind, it will only take you so far. Just because the mind doesn't comprehend something or understand something doesn't make it any less true. Okay, so somebody, one of my clients years ago, described God or source energy as like this great chess player in the sky. And I think that's a really helpful stance to take. Like I said about the air traffic control thing, is that entity, that essence can see everything from this broad perspective, past, present, future, how everything is going to come together and bring it together in ways that our mind can't even begin to conceive of. So a sort of slightly related analogy is that Daniel and I both like being by water. He maybe slightly prefers being by a river versus the ocean. I really like the mountains and the ocean. And it's like, well, how do we live in a place that satisfies both of us? And the universe will always find a way, okay? And a silly example is we went to a place recently in Spain, a beautiful place called Istan, and there was a lake there with rivers, there were mountains, there was the ocean, there was everything. We didn't know that all of these things were going to necessarily be in this specific place. We were both in alignment, and it just happened that way. This is the magic, the miraculous nature of the universe, okay? It will find ways to satisfy your desire and that other person's desire, dependent on whether or not you and they are in alignment, not dependent on whether or not your mind can imagine how it's going to happen. So it comes back to faith and trust and just surrendering it over to the universe and knowing that these miraculous and magical things are possible, but it's about you feeling good, you being in alignment. So kind of imagine that when you're here on earth, we're caught up in everything, in the busyness and the stress and all the details. If you go up into an airplane or even like further into space in a spaceship and you look down, everything looks peaceful and calm, and you can't perceive the stress in the same way. This is like the soul perspective versus the perspective of your human self. And from that higher level, broader perspective, things are able to slot into place. It's like these cooperative components are brought together because of that broader vision. You don't have that. We don't have that. We can sometimes tap into it when we're really aligned and so on. But just know that that is the job of God or source energy or your higher self or the universe, and relax into that as much as you can. Don't try and figure stuff out. This is just a trick, a trap of the mind, okay? Keep things simple, keep things easy, keep things light, keep things joyful. In your alignment, you are powerful. Like I say to my students all the time, alignment trumps everything, because when you're aligned, you're tapped into your deepest and your highest and your fullest wisdom that has all the answers, that has the roadmap to take you from where you are to where you want to be, that has the blueprint for your happiness. And in ways that we can't understand, our souls, and so that sounds like I'm swearing, that our souls and the souls of others are working together to bring this about. The only missing piece that you need to be mindful of is, are you in alignment with your soul, with your higher self? In other words, are you feeling as good as you can, as often as you can, and not beating up on yourself when you're not? Okay, so keep it simple. I'm just going to look back to my first question. Yeah, know that the universe knows best. I want to keep speaking to trust and faith here, and start to show yourself when you feel good, things go well. When you don't feel so good, things don't go so well. So the key, the trick here is to feel good. And of course, it's not a trick. It's like the price you got to pay is feeling good. How sucky is that? Not. Everything you want comes on the back of you feeling good. And when you intend that what you want is to be in everyone's highest good, that's also really aligned and a really powerful, potent state to be in. I really hope that was helpful. If you are interested in Manifesting Miracles number 7, please be in touch. It would be my absolute joy to answer any questions or to have you join. Thank you as ever for listening or watching, if you're watching this on on YouTube. No Susie today, actually. She did come on for the earlier episode, which I just recorded, so maybe she's had her fill today. I don't know. She's gone out doing her own thing. Maybe she started her own podcast. I actually wouldn't be too surprised. It might make more sense than mine. I still can't remember that word from earlier. It'll come back to me later when it's no use. Excellent. So sending you loads of love. Thanks as ever. I'll be back next week, and have an awesome rest of your day.